You know, they're talking about nuclear war. Netanyahu says they've just about reached his red line. Biden says we're not going to just contain them, we're going to stop them. And what would a nuclear explosion do? If you think of Jerusalem, it would destroy Jerusalem. It would destroy Tel Aviv. It could very well destroy New York City or London. We're talking about horrible consequences. The threat of nuclear war in the hands of some madman is just beyond comprehension, and yet that's what we're facing. And the president says the United States isn't bluffing. It will use military force to stop Iran's nuclear program if it has to.
But Israel's prime minister warns that Iran is moving ahead and that time is running short to stop it from building nuclear weapons. Ephraim Graham has the story.
Only weeks ahead of President Obama's first trip to the Holy Land, the White House is stressing the strong ties between the U.S. and Israel.
From the moment the president took office, he has acted swiftly and decisively to make clear to the whole world and to Israel that even as circumstances have changed, one thing has not: our deep commitment to the security of the state of Israel. That has not changed.
But tension is rising over Iran's nuclear weapons program. Speaking to America's largest pro-Israel lobby, Vice President Joe Biden reaffirmed the U.S. pledge to intervene militarily with Iran's nuclear program, but only if all other options fail.
Our strong preference, the world's preference, is for a diplomatic solution. So while that window is closing, we believe there is still time and space to achieve the outcome. If God forbid the need to act occurs, it is critically important for the whole world to know we did everything in our power. We did everything that reasonably could have been expected to avoid any confrontation.
Speaking to the group by satellite, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pushed back against U.S. hesitation.
Diplomacy has not worked. Iran ignores all these offers. It's running out the clock. It's still not crossed the red line I drew at the United Nations last September. But Iran is getting closer to that red line.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Well, if Obama had done everything he could have done, he would have supported the pro-democracy revolution that was beginning to build up in that last election, when people by the thousands were taking to the streets, and he didn't open his mouth in support of them. To say that he's done everything he could do is nonsense. Well, by the way, you've heard that mantra, I just want taxes that are fair. I think the rich need to pay their fair share. Well, guess what? A new study shows that they're already paying plenty. Lee Webb has that story from the CBN Newsroom. Lee?
High-income families are paying some of their biggest tax bills at the federal level in decades, Pat, and even while the rest of the country is paying taxes at record low rates. The Tax Policy Center conducted a study of all taxes that families have to pay. This year, families with incomes in the top 20% will pay an average of 27% in taxes. The top 1% will pay 35.5%. And the average family in the bottom 20% won't pay any federal taxes. In fact, many will receive payments from the government. President Obama and Democratic leaders in Congress insist that any deal to cut the deficit include more taxes on the wealthy, Pat.
That's all he knows what to do. Well, that's the mantra of class warfare. Let's knock down those others. I believe it was President Jefferson who said you'll not enhance the material well-being of the poor by taking money away from the rich. And it's true, you will not make them any more prosperous, but that's what his campaign is, and there are enough fools in this country who buy it and listen to it and believe it, but it just isn't true. Lee?
Conservatives are criticizing President Obama's nominee to head up the Environmental Protection Agency. Gina McCarthy has orchestrated many of the EPA's most controversial new rules, including regulations on new power plants. If confirmed, she will be placing more regulations in the books. She's likely to face tough questioning, though, from Republicans during her Senate confirmation hearings. Conservatives say the EPA is killing jobs and undermining the energy industry. It's something you've been saying for a long time, Pat.
Absolutely. They're out of control. The EPA is absolutely out of control. It is extending way beyond any mandate that Congress gave it. And what it wants to do is to kill the coal industry, just kill it. I mean, it just wants to do away. And they're talking about carbon taxes and whatever it takes to kill coal. Well, coal is the backbone of our power grid. And if we stop coal-fired plants, there's not enough natural gas to go around. And there certainly isn't enough biomass to feed the great electric grid we have in this country. But that's what they want to do. And you let these crazies get in charge of things, and they're doctrinaire, they aren't reasonable, they're fanatics. This is their religion. Their religion is destroying anything that may pollute the environment. It doesn't matter about jobs, it doesn't matter about the economic well-being of a community. All we care about is stopping particulate emissions. Lee.
Pat, a late-season winter storm is barreling through the nation's heartland on a path to the mid-Atlantic. 19 states from Montana to Virginia are under winter watches or warnings. In North Dakota, plows cleared roads after more than a foot of snow hit parts of the state. Poor visibility and hazardous conditions in Colorado led to a multiple car pileup on Interstate 70. Chicago could see up to 10 inches of snow later today. And Washington, D.C. is bracing for its biggest snowfall in 2 years.
This year we've already had 4 blizzards and now this winter storm and several others, so it's been quite a busy winter.
Yes, it has. The storm will continue into the Appalachian Mountain Range and by mid-Atlantic and the mid-Atlantic by Wednesday and Thursday. Well, the epic new TV series about the Bible is drawing huge ratings. The first 2-hour installment aired Sunday. The History Channel says the premiere of The Bible attracted 14.8 million viewers. That beat all of the major broadcast programs. 4 more installments of the miniseries will air each Sunday night this month. Mark Burnett co-produced this series with Roma Downey, who of course was the star of the hit TV series Touched by an Angel. Pat, did you watch the first installment the other night?
It was beautiful. Mark Burnett is just a genius, an absolute genius. My only complaint was, Lee, that he had too much kung fu fighting. If it had the angels in Sodom, they wouldn't be doing kung fu. They would just be waving their hands and strike down those bad guys in Sodom.
Well, hopefully the goal will be that it will send people to the Word, to read the stories for themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually wound up doing that myself as I was watching, kind of looking at the sequence that they were choosing. And
well, the other problem is, Terry, I mean, it was, you have a limited space. You have to show a certain amount of things. And I think the producer was constrained as well as to what he could show. Yes. So he had to be very selective, and he cut major chunks out and just put them together. But when you got ratings like that, who's going to complain? I mean, he's an absolute television genius, and his wife is a very beautiful, attractive lady who apparently is deeply committed to the faith in Jesus. So my hat's off to both of them. God bless them. Lee.
Exercising in the evening may not prevent you from getting a good night's sleep after all. In the past, experts had said to avoid exercising before bedtime because the stimulation could keep you awake. But the 2013 Sleep in America poll finds that people who exercise in the last 4 hours before bedtime report sleeping just as well as those who exercise earlier in the day. 1,000 people took part in this poll, and only 3% of late-day exercisers said they slept worse. Pat?
Well, I'm not one of those who's out,
the last 4 hours of your day.
Pumping in no way. But I do. I love the Total Gym. I have a weight bench and all that stuff. And it's just marvelous. The Total Gym is a great invention, and
there are many wonderful machines that are pretty compact that allow you to work out easily in your home today. But the gym is the gathering place.
It's a gathering place, but you waste so much time, and you do have to wait. You got somebody, there's a machine you want to use, he's on it, and you got to sit around waiting for him, whereas you got your Total Gym, and you can whip through that baby in 10 or 15 minutes and do any number of exercises. Do you have one?
I do.
You have a Total Gym?
I do have a Total Gym.
Bless your heart. And you use it?
Of course.
Of course I do. Okay, good.
A federal judge in Vermont has sentenced a Mennonite pastor to 27 months in prison. He was convicted last summer of helping a woman flee the country rather than share custody of her daughter with her former lesbian partner. Pastor Kenneth Miller remains free while he appeals the case. Now, Lisa Miller and her daughter fled overseas in 2009. Ms. Miller is the child's biological mother. She and her ex-partner had a civil union in Vermont. But Miller became a born-again Christian and turned away from her homosexual life. Miller and her daughter are believed to be hiding in Nicaragua. The pastor and Ms. Miller are unrelated. 8 former Drug Enforcement Administration chiefs are calling on the White House to sue Colorado and Washington. Both states have legalized recreational marijuana use, and the former DEA leaders say the federal government is not moving fast enough to reverse the move. Marijuana is still illegal under federal law, but one of the former DEA leaders says not acting will create a, quote, domino effect in which other states follow their lead. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.